The world turned its gaze to Anchorage, Alaska this week, a setting of stark, cold beauty chosen for a high-stakes meeting between President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. This was their first formal summit since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine escalated the conflict to brutal new levels. The anticipation was immense. Global leaders, military analysts, and ordinary citizens all waited to see what would happen. Would this meeting signal a path toward peace, or would it simply be a photo opportunity? The questions hung heavy in the Alaskan air, as heavy as the low-lying clouds over the Chugach Mountains. The simple fact that this meeting occurred was significant. For months, Russia had faced increasing diplomatic isolation. Sanctions had piled up, international condemnation was widespread, and Putin was in many circles a pariah. Yet here he was on American soil, preparing to negotiate with the President of the United States. This summit, regardless of its outcome, signaled a major shift. A potential break in the united front that Western nations had tried to maintain. For Vladimir Putin, the summit's success was not measured in signed documents. It was measured in optics. Russian state media immediately framed the event as a monumental triumph. They highlighted every detail of the welcome as a sign of respect for Russia's status as a great power. The narrative was clear: Russia was back, and the world had no choice but to engage with it on Moscow's terms. Even before the leaders met, President Trump worked to manage expectations, calling it just a preliminary conversation with no major deals expected. This approach played directly into Putin's hands. With no pressure for concrete results, Putin could reap full public relations benefits without making any tangible concessions. The summit itself was the prize. Putin gained immense legitimacy just by being there. In Kyiv, the news from Alaska was met with profound anxiety. Ukrainian officials watched with dread, fearing a deal might be made over their heads. Their greatest fear was that Ukrainian territory might be sacrificed for a fragile peace. Ukrainian President Zelensky quickly announced he would travel to Washington for an urgent meeting with President Trump on Monday. Across European capitals from Berlin to Paris, the reaction was one of deep skepticism and concern. European leaders worried the summit sent the wrong message, a crack in transatlantic unity that could legitimize Putin without extracting concessions. A senior German diplomat expressed frustration that the meeting legitimized Putin, fearing it makes him believe he can outlast Western resolve. For leaders in Eastern Europe, particularly in the Baltic states and Poland, the summit was especially alarming. The sight of Trump engaging warmly with Putin revived old fears of a Yalta-style agreement where great powers decide the fates of smaller nations. It raised troubling questions about the reliability of security guarantees and America's long-term commitment to European security. Adding farce to the high-stakes drama was an astonishing security breach. NPR reported that a briefcase containing sensitive summit documents was inadvertently left behind at the Anchorage hotel, discovered by hotel staff. While the White House downplayed the incident, it created an image of disorganization surrounding an event of immense global importance. The immediate focus shifts to Washington, where Zelensky's meeting with Trump is now laden with significance. Looming in the background is the International Criminal Court, which has an outstanding arrest warrant for Putin for war crimes related to Ukrainian children's deportation. The long-term consequences remain uncertain. Will this embolden Putin toward escalation or genuinely open new channels for communication? In the final analysis, the Anchorage summit stands as a pivotal moment, but not for the reasons many hoped. No peace was achieved, no deals were signed. It was a clear win for Putin, who successfully broke his isolation and projected restored Russian influence while creating anxiety for Ukraine and its allies. The path forward remains uncertain, but the meeting has undeniably altered the conflict's dynamics, setting the stage for a new and unpredictable chapter in this devastating war.